SBS Gayo Daejeon 2025 wasn't just another year-end celebration of K-pop excellence. It was chaos wrapped in glitter ambition turned up to a dangerous volume and a perfect snapshot of how far the industry's pressure cooker has been pushed. From the very first stage, it was obvious this wasn't about enjoying music anymore. It was about domination, about proving something, about who could go harder, louder, faster, and more aggressively than everyone else sharing the same spotlight. What should have been a celebration of performance quickly blurred into a battlefield of egos, stamina, and survival. Some idols came out performing like their careers depended on that single stage, voices pushed past comfort expressions, sharpened into weapons, choreography executed as if restraint itself were a weakness. The line between passion and excess disappeared fast. It didn't feel playful, it felt desperate. As if every scream, every overextended note, every exaggerated facial expression was a silent plea not to be forgotten in an industry that discards yesterday's stars without hesitation. The irony is that while fans praise giving it your all, the system quietly rewards those who can endure the most damage without breaking on camera. This is the side of K-pop award shows fans don't like to confront. Beneath the fireworks and camera angles lies an unspoken competition fueled by fear. Fear of replacement, fear of irrelevance, fear of being labeled mid in an era obsessed with viral perfection. SBS Gayo Daejeon didn't create that fear, but it exposed it in high definition, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. What looked like hype was really pressure. What sounded like power was often strain. And what felt exciting at first quickly became uncomfortable. If this is the energy idols are expected to maintain just to stay visible, then the real question isn't who performed the best that night. It's how long anyone can survive this pace before something gives. And trust me, this night was only the beginning. If you want to understand what's really happening behind these stages, make sure you're following, subscribed, and ready to keep watching because this story goes much deeper. As the stages kept rolling, the cracks in the polished surface became impossible to ignore. What stood out wasn't just who sang live or who relied on backing tracks, but how uneven the playing field truly was. Some idols were clearly fighting the sound system as much as they were fighting choreography, pushing vocals through faulty mixes and poorly balanced headsets that swallowed their voices whole. When live layers vanished into thin air, it wasn't talent that failed them. It was infrastructure. Yet the audience reaction never distinguishes between the two. A shaky performance becomes a personal flaw, a trending clip becomes a verdict, and context is the first casualty. This is where K-pop's obsession with perfection turns cruel. Idols are expected to deliver raw authenticity while being sabotaged by technical limitations they don't control. One group sounds phenomenal because the audio setup favors them, while another gets dragged for weak vocals simply because the live feed didn't carry. The narrative writes itself before anyone asks what actually happened behind the booth. In an industry driven by optics, the illusion of consistency matters more than fairness. Meanwhile, veterans and established names cruise through the night doing exactly what was expected of them. Strong, reliable, clean, not risky, not revolutionary, but safe. That safety is its own privilege. Rookies don't get that luxury. When they mess up, it's framed as proof they're not ready. When they push through, exhaustion breathing, heavy voices trembling, it's either praised as real or mocked as unprofessional, depending on who's watching. There's no neutral ground. Every second on stage is a trial. And yet, those imperfect moments were some of the most human parts of the night. Slightly out of breath, slightly off, still pushing forward. That vulnerability connects more deeply than flawless playback ever could. But K-pop doesn't reward humanity, it rewards survivability, the ability to endure scrutiny, ridicule, and impossible standards without collapsing publicly. SBS Gayo Daejeon wasn't just a showcase, it was a stress test, and not everyone passed unscathed. As the night dragged on, the conversation quietly shifted away from performances and towards something far more uncomfortable image. Not stage presence, not charisma, but the hyper-controlled visual identity that modern K-pop is built on. The gap between how idols look on stage and how they look off-camera has never been wider, and SBS Gayo Daejeon unintentionally highlighted just how artificial that gap has become. When an idol's bare face goes viral, it's treated like a plot twist instead of a human moment. Shock replaces curiosity. Speculation replaces empathy. This isn't about one idol looking different. It's about an industry that has trained audiences to expect unreality as the default. Heavy makeup, aggressive styling filters layered on top of filters, all working together to manufacture a face that barely exists outside of controlled environments. When that illusion slips even briefly, the reaction is ruthless. Jokes about surgery, accusations of deception, endless before and after debates. The irony is brutal. Idols are punished both for changing their faces and for daring to show the ones they actually have. What's worse is how oversaturated the visual standard has become. There was a time when one visual could define a group. Now, entire lineups are engineered to be flawless. Every member styled to perfection, every angle optimized, every flaw erased. Beauty is no longer a standout trait. It's the baseline requirement. As a result, individuality fades. Faces blur together. Roles lose meaning. When everyone is a visual, no one truly is. The real scandal isn't an idol looking unrecognizable without stage makeup. The scandal is a system that made them feel unrecognizable to begin with. A system that sells perfection so aggressively that authenticity becomes a liability. And in that environment, the only way to stand out is through extremes. Change your face and get dragged. Show your real one and go viral for shock value. Either way, the idol loses. Behind the spectacle and surface-level controversy, another familiar pattern was quietly unfolding, one longtime K-pop fans recognize all too well. When companies begin loosening the grip on a group's collective identity, it's rarely a sign of growth. Personal social media accounts open, individual schedules get whispered about, the group name starts appearing less frequently in official statements. It's not empowerment, it's preparation. The slow, strategic uncoupling that softens the blow before an inevitable announcement no one wants to say out loud. Groups don't disband overnight in this industry. They fade. Comebacks grow sparse. Promotions shrink to the bare minimum. Releases arrive with the energy of an obligation rather than ambition. When results don't follow, investment stops. It's not personal, but it's devastating. Talent becomes irrelevant when numbers don't justify the expense. The narrative shifts from "they just need one more hit" to "the market has spoken." And once a group enters that limbo, escape is almost impossible. What makes this cycle especially cruel is how transparent it is. Fans can see the writing on the wall long before companies admit it. Silence speaks louder than any press release. When newer groups debut with bigger budgets and clearer direction, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. The industry doesn't wait. It replaces, and the groups left behind are expected to smile through it, attend events, and maintain the illusion that everything is fine. This isn't mismanagement in the dramatic sense fans love to argue about. It's calculated neglect, a decision made quietly, economically, and without sentiment. And for the idols caught in the middle, it means watching their careers stall, not because they failed, but because they weren't profitable enough fast enough. In K-pop, potential has an expiration date. The final layer of the night exposed one of K-pop's most uncomfortable contradictions, the illusion of love built on money. Fan culture sells devotion as generosity, but what it often becomes is competition disguised as support. Gift culture didn't start toxic. It began with letters, small tokens, simple gestures of appreciation, but over time it evolved into something heavier, louder, and far more transactional. Spending became proof of loyalty, excess became a badge of honor, and boundaries quietly disappeared. For top-tier idols backed by massive companies, luxury gifting isn't support, it's performance. A public display of fandom power that feeds entitlement and expectation. When idols or agencies finally draw lines limiting gifts or redirecting support elsewhere, the backlash reveals the truth. Some fans don't feel appreciated unless their money is acknowledged. The relationship stops being emotional and starts resembling leverage. I gave you this, therefore you owe me something. Gratitude, access, validation. The darkest part is how this system pressures fans themselves. Wealthier supporters set the tone and everyone else is expected to keep up. Spending beyond your means becomes normalized in the name of love. Fandom turns into a class hierarchy where financial contribution equals influence, and yet the fantasy persists, that every gift is cherished, that every luxury item becomes a treasured possession. The reality is far less romantic. Storage rooms, redistribution, quiet disposal, not malice, just excess. SBS Gayo Daejeon 2025 didn't invent these problems, but it reflected them with uncomfortable clarity. From overworked idols to manufactured visuals, from silent career fades to monetized affection, the cracks are everywhere. K-pop thrives on spectacle, but spectacle comes at a cost. And the question fans need to ask isn't who slayed the stage, it's who's paying the price. If you want deeper conversations about the drama scandals, power struggles, and uncomfortable truths behind the K-pop industry, now's the time. Subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. And stay tuned because this story doesn't end here.